Well, the times they are a changin'. On today's Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. You know, I actually had to go on YouTube and look to see which episode this was going to be. So, hi. Still working on the cold, by the way. Hi, my name is Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker and Residential Sales Manager for ProStar Realty, and this is episode 67 of the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast. And we're going to do a short episode this week, mostly because we're going to be taking off here a few minutes to take Pepper, the Wonder Dog, over to a listing, and we're going to shoot a series of marketing photos and everything that we've been planning. And so time's a little tight today, but interesting things going on in the world around us. Let's, hey, look, numbers. Let's talk numbers first, all right? Took these things yesterday on May the 11th, right? Today's May 12th. You'll be seeing this thing when I release it at 5 o'clock or maybe later on in the week. Big news is we have 6,962 active listings, right? Which is up 736. Because I've been tracking this thing since basically 2020, I went all the way back, all through the charts, right, to see, have we ever had a week where we've gotten this many new active listings, this much of a delta, this much of a change between what we have active and what we have. And last week was the week for active to jump the most in the last 2 years. And we're going to get into the details of why that happened. All right. New listings that came on were 2,848, which is up 74 from the week before. We've been getting not just more listings, but we've been getting more new listings coming on, as we've been seeing over the last week. And I think between the two, the reason why we're starting to see this delta change all of a sudden is because under contract's looking for backup at 1,039. It's down 68 from the week before, and last week I do remember seems to be also a losing week. Our pendings are down to 1,738. We're down 104 there. And look at contracts with a buyer contingency up to 109. That's the highest number that we've seen so far. Usually it bounces around in the 70s and the 80s, but now that we're in the low hundreds, remember, contract with a buyer contingency means that the buyer who's buying the property has to sell their own house first. Right? It's not as desirable to you as a seller to accept an offer like that, because now your fate is in the hands of somebody else. Is this other property going to sell, or is your buyer going to have to walk away and you're back on the market? So watching that number tick up, that's interesting. All right. It's we're starting to see that demand come off, right? And let's just, it's the interest rates right now. The interest rates have been a huge shock for people in the last 2 weeks. We were actually playing around with 6% there. This time last week. I think we're back down into the low fives right now. But that sudden surge, when you do the calculation and everything, you suddenly realize you don't have the purchasing power that you used to have, especially if you're one of those people who's buying the house based on how much you want to pay monthly. Sort of like when you go to the car lot and the car dealer says, how much do you want to pay a month, right? He has a way if you only want to pay $300 a month, he's got a way to make sure you're only paying $300 a month. He can work it out where you get a worse deal because you're paying 27% interest, all right, on that 89 Toyota Tercel, all right, by charging you 24% interest, all right. Anybody who's been in the military knows about the 24% interest cars places right off the base, all right. Fast Sam's used cars kind of stuff, and he's going to charge you 24, 25, 27% interest, on a 93 Mustang. And you're going to be happy to have it because you're young and dumb and want to go get a car to drive off base. So in this case, people, buyers out there who are, hey, $2,100, $2,700, $2,500, that's all we want, PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. When you see a sudden jump in that, it really does affect what people can buy, where they can buy it, and everything else that goes with it. So as you can see on the numbers here, our demand is now down to 100.2. right? Remember, 100 is considered normal, right? We used to see this up in 130s, 120s and change. Demand is back down to where it should normally be for our population in this area, right? And once again, it's supply. But notice supply is coming up, right? This used to be 24, 25. I used to say, hey, we have 130 people looking at 21 houses out there. That's the problem with our market. All right. We still have low supply. We're going to have very slow supply for some time. This active number should read 20,000, not roughly 7,000. And we're going to be hitting, all right, we're going to be, I almost bet you dollars to donuts at this time next week when we're doing this thing, we're going to see a 7 there, right? It's going to be 7,000 something or other. Right? But we're at 28.4 houses. So just visualize 100 people looking at 28.4 houses, right? We're almost at a 3-to-1 buyer to seller ratio right now. So still very much, we're still in the seller's market. It's not as strong as the seller's market as was just a month and a half ago, right? I fully expect to see this thing continue on the rest of the year unless things get even more crazy. Okay, the recession hits, all right? Some will argue it's already here. But only way I see as not being in a seller's market through the rest of the year is for some reason we go full-blown Venezuela, all right? For these people out there who do not pay attention to, world events and stuff, just open up a little tab, Google Venezuela, what just happened to it, all right? And you'll see when a country goes bad. That's how a country goes bad. Other thing I wanted to point out is this little blue book, right? This is it's a real estate handbook that First American Title used to put out all the time. They'd give them away. Brand new agents would get one of these things. Schools would include these things in. It's like a little glossary and everything. And it's a fun book. And I keep it up here in the bookshelf with all my other stuff. But there is a big part of this book that suddenly became relevant, and it has been relevant for years. All right. And the very first part of this book has charts. All right. Interest rate charts where you could calculate a monthly payment. The problem is when they published this thing, it stopped at 5%. Didn't go any lower. All right. It went from 5% to 12%. So when this book here decided when the interest rates went below 5, I couldn't use these charts anymore. But now that we're at 5, we can. All right. So, and then another thing I noticed is that since I've hit of a certain age, the little itty bitty print is actually a lot harder to read, and I don't have my magnifying glass with me to, hey, sit here and go in my book, my real estate book. I've been using this since the aughts. And for some reason, every time I pick it up, the ink's running or something. The words just keep getting blurrier and blurrier. I don't know if I can use this anymore. I guess I'm going to have to go to that newfangled internet or something. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to being an old man in the next 30, 40 years and stuff like that, chasing the nurses down at the VA hospital in my wheelchair. But with these charts and stuff, you can actually sit there and go, oh, here's your purchasing power. Here's your interest rate. This is a term. You're going to get a 30-year loan, blah, blah. And it'll tell you right there. It rounds up in the tens of thousands and stuff like that. But it does go all the way up to 12. All right? Hopefully we're not going back to 12s. We're not going to the Carter era interest rates or anything like that. But, hey, I was at a bar last night, and I saw girls wearing bell-bottoms. All right? They were like full-on 70s hippie chicks with little midriff tops and stuff like that, and bell-bottom jeans, all right? And mom jeans with the bell-bottoms, right? So, and they must have been in their 20s. So we almost turned that place into a disco. It was like Studio 54 in there. So maybe the 12% interest rates will mean something here shortly. The other thing I like about this book is it's got glossaries. And one of the things that came up this week is some of my buyers found a house that was priced under the market, and which usually sets up a flag, but the pictures look good. And it's like, hey, what's going on with this house? What's wrong with the house? Why is it so cheap? And the reason why this particular house was so cheap is because you don't actually own the land underneath it. Right. When you're going through an MLS listing and stuff like that, and you're looking at, do I have one readily available? See, this is why I never clean my desk up, because normally I could just reach out and grab an old listing or whatnot and show it to you. But there's a thing in there that says how you take title, okay? And it's going to be, all right, fee simple or leasehold, all right? A fee simple is the term of how you own the property, right? It transfers to you as a warranty deed. That's the deed that, all right? But you're taking it in fee simple, right? Which is the reason why we use the term fee, and it's not saying that you're paying a fine or anything like that, right? But it's based off of the old world word for fief, right? Or a fiefdom, right? And so that word has sort of changed to where you're taking it in fee, all right, and you're taking it simple, all right? That it's not being divulged or anything like that. And from the legal standpoint, okay, how about if I just read it off for you? Pay no attention to the sudden light here. Fee simple, an estate under which the owner is entitled to unrestricted powers to dispose of the property and which can be left by will or inherited, commonly a synonym for ownership. All right, and then we also have fee simple absolute, fee simple conditional, fee simple defeasible. All right, but we use the term fee on this to basically denote ownership. All right, and it comes from the old way of taking title or having title is this is your fief. All right, the king has bequeathed on you, all right, the castle or river run and the apported lands unto their pertaining. Rule it in good health. And so we have fee simple. That's how all homeowners have their houses, right? All right, and then you have leaseholds. This particular property and everything like that was a leasehold. It was a 99-year lease, but you didn't actually own the ground underneath. You were renting the ground, right? You were paying a lease payment, just renting, all right? A lease, you sign, leasehold, rent, it's all the same thing. So that leasehold is what this particular thing is. And did a little research on the project, and it's interesting. They set this land trust aside specifically for affordable housing, which, hey, that's good. The problem is that you never earned equity, because when you bought the house, you signed a document saying that you would not effectively not sell that house at full market value, right? That you would pass it on to when it was time for you to leave that house because your job moved, whatever, you needed to get bigger, whatever those little life events that contribute to the churn of real estate, you would pay it forward by not selling the house to the next buyer, all right, at full cash, full value you could get on the market, which is cool. All right, this means that we have affordable housing out there, right? That lower income people, and there was income requirements in this and that and the other thing, can own their own home, right? And what can you say? You're not actually owning the home. You're renting land, right? With a structure on it. And you can do anything you want to it, right? Outside of, you can do more to it than if you were renting a house, right? But still, ultimately, it's a long-term lease, right? It's a 99-year lease that you're signing on to. And you can turn around and sell that lease, right, to somebody else, which is cool, but you can't sell it at full market value. And for middle-class Americans today, the number one asset they have in their life right now is their home, right? It's the biggest percentage, and that asset becomes their value in it is not just that they're paying down the loan, it's the appreciation on the property. And for getting people into a housing, a roof over their head, 4 walls to deal with, maybe a place to park their car and all that other stuff. The side benefit of ownership is equity. The fact that as house prices go up, as they appreciate by whatever percentage every year, that's money eventually in your pocket when you turn around and sell. And this deal took it all away from them. So is that old saying, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch or whatever like that? This is pretty much what we're talking about on that. So I think what I'm going to do is I've always wanted to start going through like the word of the week and stuff like that. And the word of this week was fee simple. All right. And we'll maybe get into some of the other stuff. All right. I love the word estoppel. All right. I love the concept of estoppel. I use that on other people. All right. If my wife's watching this, which I know she isn't, all right, she will realize how many times we're having a discussion and I'm using the concept of estoppel against her, right, to win the conversation, to seize the day, all right? So I will teach all this information onto you. Maybe I'll just do a random spin and we'll just pick a word at random and go on it from there. But I think this will be a good addition. So, comments, concerns, thoughts, complaints, leave them below. Show notes, I'm going to include my Facebook page. Once again, if everybody who watched these things was also following me on my Facebook page and vice versa, that would be great. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys very much, and we will talk next week.